If you keep waking up in the morning, jumping on the scales and being so disappointed in the number you see, and it just completely throws you off track, tears down your headspace from wanting to be so on it and trying your best to wondering why the hell you even bother because you're not seeing the results you want, I'm going to show you exactly why relying on the scales is completely screwing you over. And actually, if you focused on other things, you'll find you'll end up sticking to the plan and start seeing the results you want, dropping that skinny fat that's lingering on your body and starting to look leaner and more toned. And if you want a structure to follow that's going to keep you on track, it's going to show you what to look at rather than just the scales, you can download my Loose to Lean 4 weeks completely free coaching from the link below this video. It's so easy to get wrapped up in the scale. We've grown up in a society where it's just drilled into us that you must be losing weight, you must be as small as possible, you need to see the scale drop. But realistically, if you're already on the leaner side anyway, you're probably not going to see much change in the scales, which is fine. That shouldn't necessarily be the goal at this point, because if you see any drops, they're probably going to be quite minor. So basing your progress purely on numbers is going to be very demotivating. It's very different if you're quite an overweight person and you do have quite a lot of body fat to lose. You will be looking more at the scale weight because you would expect to see more of a drop in the numbers. But as a leaner person, that's not necessarily what we want to focus on. And to be quite honest, if you do want that toned look, you're going to need to be building muscle. And if you're building muscle, the scales will probably actually go up. So having it so drilled into you that you must be the lightest weight possible, you must be as small as possible, means that you are actually not going to see the results that you really truly want. In recent months, I have actually lost some muscle tone. Very unfortunately, life has been very chaotic, as it is for most of us all the time, but I let it take over and I have lost muscle mass. I've not been on it with my training, I've not been tracking my food, my calories have dropped. So as a result, I actually don't look as good. And my scale weight has also dropped. So as you can see, at a heavier weight, I actually look better. If I was purely focused on a lighter number on the scale, I'm never going to look as good as my true potential. Right now, my main focus actually is to get some weight back, to build muscle tone back up, to get my shit together, to get back on it with training, get my calories increased. This all means that I'm gonna see those scales go up. But that's okay, because I want to look more muscular, I want to look more toned, I want to look leaner. Muscle is going to add some weight to my whole body composition, but it doesn't mean it's body fat. This is where a lot of it gets lost, is thinking that if you gain scale weight, that ultimately means that you've gained body fat, when actually this isn't the case if you're doing it correctly. Your whole body composition can actually look drastically different, either at the same body weight or heavier but looking better. I will drill it into you time and time again.
How long before that starts getting annoying? It starts?
That the scales are not the be all and end all. And the moment you realize this and shift your mindset is the moment where you actually start looking how you've always wanted to look. Looking leaner, looking more toned, looking fuller, looking like you lift. You'll drop the skinny fat look and you'll finally stop with this constant battle of cycling through diets. 1 week trying Slimming World, the next trying intermittent fasting, and never sticking to anything because the scales never go the way you want them to, so you give up instantly. Take my client here, Emily, for example. I have been receiving message after message from her recently with clothes that are too big. She's wearing running shorts that she never thought she'd wear because, in her words, they are short. Yet here she is looking absolutely incredible. We've been working together for nearly 18 months now, and we have gone through differing cycles of being in a deficit, having diet breaks, training and fueling for performance, back into a deficit to get lean and trim for summer. And right now, whilst in a deficit, she is actually currently heavier than she was back in the summer, yet she looks wildly different. And this has been a battle for her as well, is honing in so much on the scales and letting it dictate how you feel when you wake up in the day and the number just doesn't reflect all your hard work, apparently. But the reality is, the scales actually do reflect her hard work. She has been training her ass off. She gives it her all. She follows the plan and the structure, and she has been building muscle tone. This has made her scale weight heavier, yet you can see she looks a whole lot better. But if she had been going at this alone and purely focusing on the scales, she would not be where she is now. Looking leaner, looking more toned, feeling more confident. Her clothes have become too big. She's wearing clothes that she never thought she'd wear before. And you can see her body composition, although heavier, looks so much better. And this is where you're not reaching your full potential, because you're letting the scales dictate you. A number should not control how you feel. It does not give you the full picture. If I were to just focus on the scales, I wouldn't look as good as I possibly could. If Emily were to focus just on the scale, she would not look as good as she possibly could. She would still have less shape, she'd have less muscle tone, she wouldn't be wearing clothes that she never thought she would have before, and she wouldn't be feeling as confident. Even though we do still take her scale weight, we also look at her measurements of her hips and her waist. But most importantly, we take photos every single week. By doing this, you can actually see visual changes rather than just relying on numbers. Because you see your own body every day, you probably won't notice differences in yourself. Whereas when you have photos that you can compare and you can look back on, that's when the real magic shows. Because ultimately, if you do just keep focusing on getting the lowest number you possibly can on the scale, you are not going to look how you want to look. I'm sure if Emily had done that, if she had just been relying on scale weight without any support along the way to notice the differences visually, she probably would have given up a long time ago. So instead of just relying on the scales, that is ultimately going to screw you over and never get you to where you want to be. Start taking your photos every week. Compare them to each other, and then you'll really start to see the differences.